Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to our session on hacking college access and affordability. I'm Jennifer Zinth from Education Commission of the States, and I salute you for being here at the last session before our reception later today. It's been a full day, and I appreciate all of your attendance. So we have one speaker who, due to a flight situation, was unable to join us this afternoon. That's Alberto Carvalho, in case you're wondering why there's one fewer person up here than you might see in your agenda. His slides will be made available after this session if you'd like to check them out on the website. But I think we'll go ahead and get started. I'll be doing a quick landscape of where we are nationally on these issues, and then our speakers will each be doing about 5 minutes introducing their particular program. We'll go into a couple of rounds of facilitated conversation. We're doing a policy round and a bonus round on big picture thinking, not to say that those two aren't interrelated, and then go into Q&A with all of you. And so if we can go ahead and queue up the PowerPoint. Perfect. We're a 50-state organization. We're a 501c3 based in Denver, Colorado, and we serve education policymakers across role groups across the 50 states. And I wear two hats. One is high school and one is STEM from the early grades through post-secondary. And when I'm wearing my high school hat, not only is early college access the topic that we get far and away the most questions on, request to present, testify, do reports on, and so forth, but it's also, for a number of reasons, one of the topics that I'm the most passionate about because it really has such implications, as we heard from the previous speaker, for what students do after college, after high school, and what their success is going to look like. So I'll just very quickly provide the overview that you see here, and then we'll turn it over to each of our presenters, talking about what are we talking about when we say early college access, why are we doing this in the first place, and then to give a quick lay of the land on dual enrollment and advanced placement in particular, although we'll be talking about other early college models as well throughout this session. And so when I talk about college today, and when our speakers talk about college, many people might think about just talking about four-year degrees, but we're talking about all types of post-high school educational experiences, anything from a short-term certificate or industry-recognized credential all the way through baccalaureate. And we talk about early college access, we're talking about a whole array of programs. It could include dual enrollment, it could be advanced placement or international baccalaureate, but it's also some other types of programs in terms of CLEP, AICE, Cambridge, other types of programs that give students an opportunity to earn college-level credit before they earn their high school diploma. And the reason that states have really taken on this issue is a variety of things. There are data that indicate that if we have two students with the same high school academic indicators, perhaps the same demographic background, that student who participates in an early college opportunity such as dual enrollment or AP or IB is more likely than his or her peer to not only show college readiness in terms of a minimum score on ACT or SAT or another college ready indicator, but more likely than that other student to enroll in college after high school and persist, be there 1 year, 2 years after matriculation, and complete a credential or degree within a reasonable amount of time, 4 to 6 years. Some data also indicate that comparing those two students, that student who takes advantage of an early college opportunity is more likely than his or her peer to aspire to finish a post-secondary degree or enroll in a post-secondary program if he or she hadn't thought about post-secondary before that experience. And some data also suggests that students are more aware of all these other features of college success that are less academically oriented. They're more aware of college admissions, applications processes. They're more aware of all the opportunities for academic and non-academic supports on the campus, all these other sorts of things that play into college success. It's also important to note that some research indicates that students who participate in dual enrollment, AP, IB, other types of opportunities show, even when you look at the same academic indicators in high school, lower likelihood of placing into remediation. But that's usually for the type of course that they enrolled in high school. So if I took college algebra through a dual enrollment course, but I was a weak English student, participating in college algebra isn't suddenly going to make me college ready, and the other way around. It's usually for that particular course or discipline that they duly enrolled or took an AP course in. And some research, again, also indicates that they're less likely to earn excess college credits, the credits that may not apply towards their degree or major. They may also reduce the amount of time, but these vary due to various student factors that are beyond the ability to control for. And so turning now to the state of play nationally on dual enrollment policy, over the last decade, we've seen a number of states not just make incremental changes in their policies, but rewrite or significantly change their policies. And there's a number of reasons for this, but I think a couple of big ones are research showing that because so many more young people are going to require some sort of education after high school in order to be employed in the future economy, we can't be leaving large numbers of young people behind. So it's really seen as an economic development driver, a workforce development driver. And so states are looking at different strategies to retool their dual enrollment policies. They're looking at, rather than the initial policies that were enacted in the late 80s or 90s, where it was dual enrollment was seen as an alternative for the most academically advanced students who had no other options. They'd already taken all their courses that were available to them at their high school. It's also for the middle achieving students, for CTE students, career tech ed students who are also underrepresented in higher education, including low-income students. And so there are several levers that states are using to broaden access and participation in these programs, including funding models, various access levers in terms of communication, counseling and advising, ensuring course quality, and of course transferability as a return on investment issue. And then looking lastly at advanced placement, again, we've seen a number of states retool their policies in recent years so that it's not just for those top percentile of students who are likely to be going to college anyway, but a broader opportunity for students to get a leg up in earning early college credit, including looking at exam fees, which has become particularly important as that federal AP exam fee program was folded into ESSA funding in states. States are increasingly looking at how advanced placement participation and exam scores are factored into state accountability systems. They're also ensuring, again, for a return on investment that when that student earns a 3 or higher on an AP exam, that course transfers statewide to a certain extent in a similar manner across institutions across the states. And then lastly, looking at access and success in computer science, particularly computer science A, computer science principles, to get more students, especially students of color and female students, into post-secondary computer science programs by giving them an early taste of success through AP computer science. And so the impact to date has not only been that we've seen more students participating in these types of programs, but a more diverse body of students. We're also seeing not only are more students participating, but higher course completion rates and higher scores or percentages of students who participate in ABA exams earning a 3 or higher. We're also seeing that there's still work to be done in terms of the number of students and the diversity of students who are taking advantage of these programs and succeeding in them. And so with that, I'll turn over to our first panelist, Steve, if you can introduce yourself, and then we'll go to a short film or 2 videos. Yep.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jennifer. I'm Steve Klinsky. I'm the founder and CEO of a new philanthropy called Modern States. And the reason I'm very happy to be talking to you all is what we have, what I'm going to be showing you, is something that actually exists today that all of you have total freedom to use for free to help make college more affordable. So we all know how expensive college has gotten. There's $1.5 trillion of student debt today. And what I've done, as you'll see in a second, is essentially as if there was a public library created to let people get access to books. We've created Modern States as essentially a public library of some of the best online college courses. And we hired some of the best professors in the country to teach college courses, especially for us, that now are available on our website, modernstates.org, that anyone in the world can use for free from here. We use OpenStax textbooks that Rick will talk about. And each of the courses that we teach is matched up to the CLEP exam from the College Board. So if you take our course for free with the free textbooks, pass the CLEP, 2,900 major schools will give your students time and credit for having completed that course, and they're one course done and closer to graduation. So let me use, I think it's more explanatory with videos, so if we can just go to the website picture really quickly.
Hi, I'm Jalen Rose. In this site, Modern States freshman year for free is making college affordable and accessible for everyone. On this site, you'll find over 30 different online courses taught by some of the best professors in the world. You can take your entire freshman year tuition free. These courses are customized to help you pass the exam to get college credit. Anyone can sign up for these courses, and they're free. So get started right here, right now.
And then, so the website to go to those courses is called modernstates.org. Anyone in the world can use it. And then as a way to use it, Andrew's going to be speaking after me, but we have a video about the way his school is using it. That is the website itself, and you can see scrolling down the way it looks, and the courses are like a Netflix with trailers and all that attached. But let's go to the video about, if we can go to the next video about Andrew's school before he talks.
Hi, my name is Struckley, and I'm a student here at Thomas Jefferson High School in Gretna, Louisiana. So my Spanish teacher, she saw that I was very good at speaking Spanish and doing the work for Spanish. She was like, hey Truck, there's this test where you can earn college credit. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. What is it? And she's like, it's called CLEP. And so she had me sign up for it. And she started tutoring me personally. Well, then I took the CLEP test and I got a 49. And that was 1 point from passing. 1 point from passing. So the next year, I was in Spanish 2, and I took it with another teacher named Mr. Bonilla. And Mr. Bonilla introduced me to this site called Modern States. And I was like, well, what is Modern States about? He was like, well, you can practice for CLEP, you can, it will help you with your Spanish, and in addition, it gives you free college credits where you don't have to pay anything. I'm like, that's awesome. So he gave me a voucher code for it, and I signed up. I started looking over the material on Modern States, and the thing that appealed to me was that it was actual professors teaching to us from actual universities. So I was like, hey, I can trust them. Totally, I can trust them. And I saw that it was very helpful. I listened to the videos. I went ahead, took the CLEP test, passed with a 56. So that is a good grade.
Last year, we had 55 students participate in a Modern States course and of course take a CLEP test at the end. That's probably about 1/8 of our population took a test last year, and we're looking to get that towards maybe like 1/3 or even half of our population this year.
Modern States is great. It was very useful in itself and in addition to the class I was taking because it provided some resources to help me already with the European course I was already taking. All of the resources available to me through the course really helped with passing the CLEP test.
Teachers started talking about it in their classrooms. Teachers started becoming more aware of it when they were teaching in the class, and even willing to kind of supplement some of the things that they're doing in order to kind of integrate the Modern States curriculum into what's already happening in the classroom. So we just want to prepare our kids with as much college credit as possible while they're here. It is really a perfect timing because it came along while we were trying to press that message to our kids. So it's been really good.
So, and I look forward to the question and answer part, but just so, again, you understand it, you can use it, your high schools can use it, your kids who are in college can use it, people of any age can use it, they can learn from it or they can try to get credit. 100,000 people have signed on to it in the year since we put it online. We're also paying the CLEP exam fees for at least 10,000 people, and I'm very likely going to be expanding that number. We've had over 7,000 people already take CLEP courses with vouchers from us where we paid the CLEP fee, and their passing rate has been 77%, so above the national average. And just for example, just a couple of human interest stories. The first person ever to take one of these courses from us was a homeschooler named William Rush in Washington State a year ago. I called him up. He took chemistry from a Columbia professor and passed it as a 17-year-old homeschooler in Washington State. And I called him up to congratulate him since he was the first one and said, William, do you plan to go to college? He says, no, I plan to be an electrician. And I congratulated him. It was great. About a month or two ago, we got a letter from his parents inviting us to the graduation of William Rush from Home High School and from a 2-year associate's degree at Clark College, Washington State, where he got 1 year totally free through Modern States and 1 year from his local community college. So there's so many different ways to use it, and it's very logical. These courses, they exist now, they're online, anyone can use them with the great OpenStax texts and readings. We're paying the $87 exam fee for hopefully for a long time, but worst comes to worst, it's an $87 exam fee which goes to the College Board, and you can save yourself $1,000 or $2,000. So that's the big idea, and let me turn it over to Andrew, who's one of the great pioneers in applying it to a school.
Yeah, we saw Andrew in the video just now. If you can tell us a little bit more about how you use Modern States at Thomas Jefferson and how the curriculum's been integrated into your coursework.
Absolutely. There we go. So first off, thank you for showing the video. It was always good to see a little bit of slice of home out here. So Thomas Jefferson High School is a public school in Jefferson Parish. Jefferson Parish is the largest district in the state of Louisiana. Our school, just to kind of give you an idea, we're about 5 miles south of the French Quarter, so we're really close to New Orleans. We have a very diverse student population, and I think that is a very good cross-section of our community. 41% Caucasian, 29% African American, 19% Asian American, 10% Hispanic. We're an A-rated school, and although we're a public school, we're something called a Select Admissions Advanced Studies Academy. There are 3 of them that exist in Jefferson Parish, and there is a testing admissions process. So typically, the top 15% of the students that take the test for admissions come to the ASA schools. So we're a college prep school. We are a Title I school. It also means we're socioeconomically diverse, and I think that's important, and it makes us a really good match for what Modern States brings to the table, because we have students that are very capable and very willing, but don't necessarily have the resource. So one of our beliefs is that in high school, especially when you have kids on a college path, 95% plus of Thomas Jefferson High School graduates go to a university, that we equip them with as much college credit as possible. We heard some discussion about dual enrollment programs, which we do take part in, AP, which we do take part in, but CLEP is something that we started to take part in a little bit more so in the past few years. And one of the things that we found is we could find existing CLEP exams that had some kind of correlation to the courses that we were already giving in high school, because it was part of their high school diploma per the state of Louisiana. Find that correlation that existed and actually use Modern States and their high quality resources, their videos, their collegiate level lectures, their study guides and supplemental materials to kind of bridge that gap. And I'll kind of give some examples of that in just a few minutes. All in all, it's kind of a breakdown of our school. In 2015, 2016, we started to experiment with CLEP just to see if it had legs, to see if it was something that we should pursue. And this was before I met Mr. David Weiss, who works with Mr. Klinsky at Modern States. We took 9 tests and we had 4 passing tests, so we felt like we had something there. And then in 2016, 2017, which is when we shot that video, we had 57 tests taken, and in that year we also established a CLEP testing site on our campus, which is another big part of the story. We had 35 passing tests our first year, and you can see in 2017, 2018, it ballooned to 266 tests taken, 172 passing tests altogether at Thomas Jefferson High School. And the most exciting thing for us, first off, you can see this is just taken over in part. It's part of our culture now. I kid you not, kids come to the front office. I'm like, hey, what are you taking? They're like, oh man, I got 2 CLEP classes this year. I got 2 CLEP. I'm like, there's no such thing as a CLEP class, but they call it CLEP class because culturally now they know at the end of this class they're going to have to take a CLEP test. So with our partnership with Modern States, we're Title I school. $27,000 of testing fees have been paid for by Modern States, and this of course translates into hundreds of thousands of saved college costs for my students. And what Mr. Klinsky just said, $1.5 trillion of student debt, this is something that we obviously have to be mindful of. Just an idea of what we're looking for when we're creating strategy on how to implement modern states. We're looking at the existing courses that we have to give our kids to get a high school diploma in Louisiana. English 4 is a great example. English 4 is going to be heavy British literature, but we typically focus on text analysis, focus on writing, focus on appropriately citing works, annotating, things like that. So it's a lot of skills. But CLEP requires you to have a large knowledge of British literature, poets and writers and their works, and we were able to use modern states to kind of supplement our own curriculum so that our students could build that capacity and come out of that program and take that CLEP test. And you see we had great success there. Fine arts, this is just an example of the innovation that some of my teachers have done now that it's been part of our culture. And modern states has given us the access to do this. Everyone has to take a art appreciation class. Well, we created a fine arts class, which is centered around the CLEP humanities. We have theater teachers and visual art teachers that have come together, and we've used their expertise, but there's things that we just didn't have on campus that modern states had in their program, like architecture and things like that are part of humanities. So we used that, and once again, our students that were just going to take their general art class ended up getting college credit as well. Psychology is another great example. It was an elective that's very popular at my school. Once again, used modern states, supplemented the difference, and very, very big help there. And because we're a testing site, and because modern states exist, our students can feel free to study their own interest. I don't have a German language class at Thomas Jefferson High School, but because I have the testing lab and because they know how to use modern states, they go do it, and they take that class and pass the CLEP. Same with Western Civilization and some other classes as well. I just wanted to give you a few little blurbs, a few little articles here. This here is Nathaniel Babon Trinidad. He is our freshman year for free guy. He's the exemplar. He's the one that went after as many courses. He's the type of guy that goes home and studies even when there's no homework, okay? So they're not all like Nathaniel, but Nathaniel caught the vision, realized that he could defer a lot of college costs using this program, and he did so, and that's a picture of him. They had an article in NOLA.com, which is the online version of the Times-Picayune, which is the newspaper down in New Orleans. But also on the next slide, I put a link to Truck and Trinity stories. And Truck and Trinity is, those are the two students that were on the video from Modern States. They represent more of it's more common to see a Truck and Trinity story at Thomas Jefferson High School, where these students are just kind of leveraging the work that they're already doing. Their teachers are helping them and giving them access to the Modern States curriculum, and they come out of Thomas Jefferson High School with, I guess, some dual enrollment credits, some of them with AP credits, but they also are now coming out with these CLEP credits as well, saving money in their freshman year and beyond.
All right, thank you so much. And Rich Beranek from Rice University, if you could introduce yourself and then talk a little bit about what's OpenStax and why is K-12 and dual enrollment what you're doing with OpenStax.
Sure thing. It's great to be here. Thanks so much for the invite. I'm Rich Beranek. I'm a professor of electrical engineering at Rice and also a founder and director of OpenStax. And thanks for the kind words, Steve. OpenStax is a nonprofit digital textbook publisher. We're based at Rice University in Houston, and our goal is to knock down the barriers that stand between students of all ages and their ability to realize their full intellectual potential. The barrier that I'm going to focus on today is an access barrier caused by outrageous textbook prices. And we're going to start with the college situation and then talk a little bit about the impact in K-12. So this is an education conference. So how about a quiz? Who wants a quiz? Okay, so question for you. By what percent have college textbook prices increased over the last 3 decades? Any ideas? By what percent? 85%. 300%. Can we cue the slide? close to 1,000%, okay, over the last 3 decades. And this is contributing to what Steve was talking about. We've tried to do modern states with a $400 textbook, right? Textbooks now actually in a lot of community college courses represent the same outlay for a student as their tuition, right? So it's as much a textbook problem as a tuition problem. And as a result, 50% of college students are choosing not to buy the book, and grades are falling. And this is really a crisis in colleges. So I started OpenStax in 2012 to try to do something about this and to break through this access barrier. And the basic idea is to use to develop free textbooks. So we use venture philanthropy from 18 at present foundations and individuals to underwrite the cost of producing professionally authored, high-quality, peer-reviewed digital texts, primarily at the introductory college level. So think 100, 101 level courses. And then we distribute the texts in just about every digital format you could think of under an open source license, so that they're not only completely free for everyone in the world to use, but they're available for instructors to customize and improve so that they can make the perfect book for their course. We also distribute low-cost print versions of our texts, plus several of them are embedded with a personalized learning engine that enables students to not just read about ideas, but be able to interact with them. The enterprise, it's a nonprofit, but it's supported and sustained by revenue that we generate by working with over 50 different companies, including most of the major college textbook publishers, who innovate on top of our free and open content, add things like computer-based homework, tutoring services, analytics, etc. And then when they make money on these services by selling them to students or instructors or schools, they revenue share some of those profits back with us in order to sustain our enterprise. So that's what OpenStax is. We've made quite a bit of progress over the last 6 years since we launched. Here are 4 quick metrics. We just published our 31st textbook, and so now we cover all the major college introductory courses from physics, chemistry, and calculus to psychology, sociology, American government. 16,000 instructors in over 50% of all degree-granting institutions in the country are using at least one of our books. And this includes thousands of community colleges, but also elite universities like Harvard, Princeton, Stanford, and so on. Over the last 6 years, 6 million students have saved about $500 million using our texts. And they've used this money to do a number of things, to sign up for more courses, to work fewer hours in their jobs so that they can study harder and pass those courses, and frankly, for many students, to buy groceries. And we're really excited that our physics textbook is actually last year crossed the threshold and became the #1 book in the algebra-based physics market. And we expect that several more of our books are going to pass that threshold in the next couple years. We're even more excited, though, that recent research by the American Enterprise Institute, just down the road, has shown that for the first time in history, in decades, college textbook prices have actually begun to fall over the last 2 years. And they have claimed that among a number of factors, OpenStax in particular, and open educational resource initiatives are playing a big role in this disruption of the college textbook market. I like to call this the Southwest Airlines effect. So moving forward, K-12, dual enrollment, dual credit, projects like Modern States, advanced placement, these all are going to be a big part of OpenStax's future. For the last 6 years, since we launched, we've been focusing virtually all of our attention on content development, marketing, and partnering efforts only in the college space. But in the meantime, 14% of our adoptions are now from high schools, about 350,000 students this school year. And these students are typically, or these adoptions are typically students taking dual enrollment, dual credit, or advanced placement type courses. And these high school adoptions of our books are really being driven by the exact same issue of high textbook costs that we see in the college space. So let's have another quiz. Another quiz. Everybody ready? What is the number one reason that a high school decides not to offer a college level course? The number one reason. Any ideas? No teacher, no interest. No, yeah, so we've asked folks, leaders in dual enrollment, dual credit, people like the leaders at Houston Independent School District in Texas. We've talked to David Coleman, president of the College Board, and they both agree that and the statistics bear this out, the number one reason a high school does not offer a college course is because they can't afford the book. Okay, it's not access to a qualified teacher, it's not interest from students or parents, it's simply the cost of the book. And this is something that we can remedy immediately, right, by using open educational resources, using projects like OpenStax. And so we're just really excited about engaging more deeply in high schools and being able to provide rigorous learning opportunities to all students. And we're also hoping that we can make the same rapid progress that we've made in the college space. So great to be here and happy to keep talking.
Thank you. And so we're going to turn now to our policy round, and I'm going to ask two of our speakers to give just a quick answer, 2 to 3 minutes. And Andrew, we'll start with you. What state or district policies have made it possible for you at TJ to use modern states?
Interestingly enough, in 2014, the Louisiana Department of Education added CLEP to our performance score, right? I'm sure every state public schools are given a number and a grade, and they're rated. Traditionally, AP and traditionally dual enrollment credits have earned points for students in this grad index, which measures, air quotes, value of diploma. But CLEP was added into it in 2014, so what it did is I think it kind of created some innovation, and districts and administrators like myself, we said, well, what's CLEP? What is that? What is that? First off, we had to figure out what the acronym meant. And then after that, we tried to figure out how to implement it in our own schools. Just to kind of give you some effect and impact on that, the state of Louisiana released this information in August that since they added that into that accountability system or performance score system, in 2015-2016, we had a 100% jump in the amount of students taking CLEP examinations in Louisiana. In 2016-2017, an additional 37% increased, and last year we had 5,346 students in Louisiana earning college credit via CLEP. And the state's estimate is that Louisiana students have saved $4 million in college tuition costs via CLEP. So, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest points I want to make regarding policy. I applaud Louisiana in adding, essentially incentivizing schools and people like me to go out and figure out what that is, because the outcome is now the students at my school and now students in Louisiana are benefiting from this amazing opportunity for getting more college credit at what I believe is a very safe place in high school, and reducing their college costs. So I think the policy in place in Louisiana has been very beneficial in this regard.
All right, and so Rich, we'll turn to you. How are you working with states at the state level?
Yeah, great question. So OpenStax is based in Houston, in Texas. As a data point, the state of Texas spends $500 million a year on renting instructional materials. So both the legislature and the Texas Education Agency, or the TEA, are both very keen to experiment with more scalable, cost-effective, and democratized approaches to instructional materials. In addition to our college texts, which are natural for use just out of the box for dual enrollment and dual credit type programs, over the past several years we've been developing an advanced placement textbook library, which now numbers 11 texts. And actually, if you wouldn't mind, I had a fourth slide that just lists some of the textbooks. I can go forward. Here we go. Oh, sorry. There we go. So the development of our last 7 books was actually supported by the TEA by a program that set aside 1%. Okay, that's important. 1% of the state's textbook budget to experiment with open source textbook development. The state paid for the development of these texts, but they're now available under an open license. That means anybody in the other 49 states and around the world is free to use them and reuse them for free forever. Not only will these texts help more schools to offer dual enrollment and AP type programs, but some of the dollars that schools and districts are saving can be repurposed for important needs like more teacher professional development, improved technology, etc. So the economics of this new kind of development model, I think they're very simple, but they're very compelling. So if you think about the one-time cost to develop one OpenStax book, that's equal to the amount that a single large school district, for example, HISD in Houston, the amount that just one district pays to rent a conventional book for about 2 years. So for the rental cost for 2 years, you could create from scratch an OpenStax text. And once that book is completed, not only does it lower the textbook cost for that district to 0 forever, but it also impacts all other districts in the state, the nation, and the world beyond. Okay, so it's just a very compelling, I think, case. It should be clear there's a real massive opportunity in front of us as far as developing new approaches to educational materials. Basically for the price of a rounding error in many of the state textbook budgets, we could create a free and open source library that not only reduces to 0 the future cost of all textbooks for dual enrollment, dual credit, and AP courses, but also opens up brand new avenues for access, innovation, and democratization of education. So it just seems like a no-brainer to try to scale up the kind of experiments we've been doing in Texas.
Yeah. And let me, if I could, add to a couple of the things that Andrew and Rich just said. First of all, for those who don't know what the CLEP test is versus the AP test, the advanced placement test is very well known, but the limitation is it can only be taken by high school students in May. So let's say you're a state education officer and you're trying to help people who are already out of high school afford college, or help people of different ages or use it. The CLEP is much more universal because anyone can take it, of any age, any background, any day of the week at 1,800 testing centers, or you could do what Andrew did and just set up a testing center of your own. And it's frankly a little bit of an easier test to take, and it's very widely accepted. There are 2,900 colleges who accept CLEP, usually up to about a year's worth of courses. So Purdue, Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, Morehouse, they all accept it. So, for example, on Modern States, we also have a full set of advanced placement courses. So you can take anything from college algebra for CLEP from a Johns Hopkins professor, to calculus for CLEP from Johns Hopkins, to advanced calculus from MIT professors for advanced placement. But we found that the CLEP is the much more useful key to the population at large. And they're both from College Board, and they're both proven. CLEP's been around for 50 years. It's very little known, but where it was mostly been used is in the military, where the government does pay people on military bases. They pay their test exams, and it just wasn't very widely known. But it's actually been kind of the key to the keyhole for us. And then on the cost, Rich talks about how efficient it is to do a course. On the college side, on the course, on the books he talks about, to do a course for us, let's say we do chemistry one time very, very well, and we hire a fantastic professor from Columbia, which we did. It basically costs us $50,000 to $100,000 to get a good course done. So we produce 32 courses the way you would produce 32 different movies with 32 great professors. But you do it one time for, let's say, $100,000, and then instead of everyone paying $1,000 or $2,000 to take a course online, you could have 1 million people take that course, or 1 billion people theoretically take that course forevermore, now that the course exists and is online and with generally Rich's textbooks attached. So it's, education is incredibly expensive. You can get every song in the world on Spotify for free, but if you want to take, a vocational training course, it costs you $2,000. I mean, there's just a mismatch in how expensive everything is, and this is a way around it.
Okay, so we're going to move to our bonus round. I'm going to give each of our panelists the 60-second challenge. We're at 4:58, and I was hoping to get over to audience Q&A for the last 15 minutes of our session. So, Andrew, are you ready for the 60-second challenge?
Sure.
Yes. What are key features of successfully integrating college-level credit-bearing coursework into high school? Go.
All right, I think there are two. One is policy. Again, AP, well-known, CLEP, as told you by Mr. Klinsky, not as well-known, but hey, colleges are accepting these credits. And if colleges are accepting these credits, I think it's our business to give our kids an avenue to take those credits and reduce college costs. Policy is facilitating that in Louisiana. You said no-brainer. To me, that's like a policy no-brainer. That should be done all over the place, but that's just me. Who am I? The second would be access, and that's what everyone's talking about here. Access is high quality instructional materials, high quality curriculum, and in our case, that's what we've been able to access with Modern States, and those are probably the two biggest points, I would say.
Outstanding.
Yes, 9 seconds.
All right, Steve, we'll turn to you. So what do you see as the future of college access and affordability?
Well, I think these type of models can really help. I mean, it's never going to solve a $1.5 trillion problem, but the goal is anyone who wants an on-ramp should be able to have an on-ramp in this way. And I think it can help many, many more people than it does now, and that's why I'm so happy to talk to this audience who can make it happen in their schools and their states. And then I think broader than that, there's no reason why the same model of free courses online from a public library of courses plus a certification exam could work for vocational training. If you're going to be a medical desk transcription expert or something, there could be courses in all these fields. The courses are cheap. The bottleneck is the tests, and that's where the government could come in and help make some tests like CLEP for other fields and democratize access to education.
Thank you so much. All right, so Rich, you're the last one on our 60-second challenge. How does the open source aspect of the OpenStax textbooks impact teaching and learning?
Oh, okay. Well, so I'm going to talk about the flip side of access. So we've been talking about the cost side, but there's another open source side to access, and that is giving instructors the ability to curate, edit, and improve and make the material so that they can become perfect for their particular class and their particular context. So the important thing about OpenStax texts in particular and open educational resources in general is that they're open source licensed, which enables instructors to legally be able to do so. So this has allowed a really interesting development of literally hundreds of customized versions of our OpenStax texts that sit alongside the canonical versions. And these have, one particularly interesting example is a Spanish translation of our biology textbook that's getting a lot of use by folks, not just from the States, but from all around the world. So what this lets us think about is teachers as creators and editors. Teachers are natural designers, and contributing to editing, improving, authoring, and curating open textbooks not only helps students, but it's a great professional development opportunity. And I think this is something that we should enable every teacher to have this kind of freedom.
All right, so I'm going to stand up.
I take it that meant I was more than a minute. Shucks.
It's over, just barely. So I'll stand up so I can see this side of the room, but we'll take some questions now. Yes. And if you could, when you ask your question, I'm not going to put my timer on yet, but if you could just say your name very quickly, where you're from, and then get right to your question. Thank you.
Thank you. John Paget from Florida. I have two quick questions. The first for Steve. You didn't mention any source of income for Modern States.
Yeah.
So how can you do all what you're doing and pay for the CLEP?
Well, it is a philanthropy, and because I have another job that pays for this job, so I'm a businessman, and I'm doing this as a charity. So the cost of creating the courses is a one-time cost, again, it was 50 to 100,000 a course, and that's all spent and done. The expense going forward from here is the $87, CLEP exam fee. I've promised to pay the first $10,000, and I'm very likely to increase that number. But what I'm hoping is that states, districts, schools, when I run out of scale, I hope that they can just pick it up, because $87 versus $1,000 or $2,000, whatever a course costs, is an incredible savings.
Well, thank you for your initiative. The second question is for Andrew. So it sounds a little bit like CLEP, aiming for the CLEP or aiming for an AP test. Those are the two routes that students and teachers could pick. Based on the numbers that I heard from all the speakers, the pass rate for CLEP seems to be higher than for AP. So the question is it an easier test? Is something going on that makes them unequal? And a corollary question, how do universities, you mentioned a few universities who recognize CLEP, but how do universities look at both of them? Because we already know how universities look at a 3 passing on an AP. And so could you address that?
Sure. So yes, pass rates are higher for CLEP. We do have AP at our school, and some students choose to take those programs as well, and those are successful. But if you're looking at pass rate to pass rate, CLEP is higher. I think one of the biggest differences between CLEP and many of the AP is there's not really too many writing tasks, if any, on some CLEP exams. They sit at a 90-minute test. A lot of multiple choice, a lot of content-based knowledge, and I'm guessing that's the reason why some students do a little bit better with CLEP. In terms of how colleges look at it, in our state, LSU, Southeastern Louisiana University, the UNO, Nichols, I mean all the major public universities in our state accept CLEP credits. You can go to the College Board website and you can look at your state, look at your community, and you can find out which universities accept which CLEP exams, and your students can kind of strategize accordingly. And again, it's our mission at a school level to kind of equip our students with as many potential avenues for college credit as possible, and that's just one of our avenues.
And if I can just kick in and add on that too, it is an easier test to pass, I think, than the AP. That being said, all the research from College Board has shown that anyone who passes the CLEP is more likely to graduate, from their ultimate college than someone who hasn't passed the CLEP. And their research also shows you do better on the follow-up course if you've passed the CLEP than for the population generally. It's been accepted for over 50 years, and so it's a very well-trodden road. It just isn't, it just is amazingly unknown. And there was no way to get ready to learn the material. I mean, now that you have the teaching and the textbooks and the exam, which has been widely accepted for over 50 years, it just is a...
Students more likely to graduate from college if they've gone in through CLEP or gone in through AP?
I don't know. I don't know that. But I know what the research I've seen is CLEP versus just a regular student body. It's actually, maybe because it's a self-motivated population, they've actually had very good. And what's interesting, like on Modern States, we call it the Modern States Education Alliance, and we've had tremendous support. Our allies are people like the State University of New York system, Texas State University, all the public colleges in Tennessee, because they don't see this as a threat. They already accept CLEP, and they have for 50 years, and this is an on-ramp into their schools. You get the credit from the school that enrolls you and says, yes, you have this course done, your English CLEP counts for English 101, and you're that closer to graduation. So there's actually tremendous support. They know they have an affordability problem. They don't want to tear the football stadium down, and this is a way to give an on-ramp to good, hardworking people into their schools.
Oh, sorry.
So thank you. Kim Coleman, House Rep from Utah. So you discussed this as an onboarding, but then after that first year, then these students are stuck with that current system that we have. When do we get to the point where we don't care how someone learned it, but just that they know it? And why doesn't this scale beyond first year? Why isn't that all 4 years? When do we not care how you learned it, just that you did?
Well, for me, you know, what I was trying to do, there's been free college courses for a long time with MOOCs, and they never gave you credit. So what I was trying to solve was the issue of how to get into the accredited system that's so widely accepted by employers and graduate schools. The idea of competency tests in general would be a whole different mission and is kind of beyond my pay grade to solve.
Hi, my name is Jared Lucas from Los Angeles. I'm the founder of a startup that aims to create an ecosystem where companies pay people to educate other people and to gamify and incentivize that knowledge that's being created. And my question is, in this world, this little ecosystem, I want to be able to, you know, verify that people are learning the information and whatnot. So I'm wondering, as far as with you guys, you already have this online system, you know, how, if at all, can you verify that people are actually learning the curriculum online? And is it just the test that verifies it, or are there other methods?
Well, the way our courses work is there are quizzes all through the way to make sure the student's paying attention and doing the material. But the ultimate test, the ultimate measure is passing the exam, which is a rigorous exam from College Board that has been accepted by 2,900 major universities. On the other issue you raised about an ecosystem for employers, I think the same idea we're doing with CLEP, and this kind of gets to the other question too. Let's say that there was a library of vocational courses. Instead of going to a for-profit trade school and paying a huge amount, you had free vocational courses. You worked for a company who helped you learn that material as an apprentice, pass it, and then if there was a certification exam, you could pass it and you could pay the employer for having helped you train instead of going to the trade college. So, I mean, I think this idea of free courses from a public library of courses with certification exams are much broader than CLEP and could work in vocational in a big way. But again, it's kind of beyond my pay grade. I'm just trying to do my one little thing and get that across. But it's a much bigger paradigm.
Okay, we have time for one more question.
Well, my name's Kevin Teasley, Geo Foundation. We're starting a school in Baton Rouge. I think this panel's been worth the price of admission for this conference, so thank you. I've learned a lot. You should put it on the big session out there so everybody can understand what's going on here. I really like what you are all talking about. The one concern I have is college completion rate is important. Not just getting credits, but getting completion. And the students that we serve, 100% minority, 100% poverty, we have found that in our early college program, the power of being in the place, meaning on the college campus, in a college class, with students that don't look like them, are not the same age, et cetera, and learning from a real college professor on a regular basis is extraordinarily important towards a student's completing the college associate degree and or the college bachelor's degree. So how would you fit what you're doing? Andrew, maybe I want to look at you on this. How would you look at what you're doing in helping students complete college? Getting the credits is great, saving money is great, but I'm just concerned about completing.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I have a high school of 400 students, and there's a large contingent. Most of my kids are already taking dual enrollment credits as well. They're taking dual enrollment credits through Southeastern Louisiana University on campus, and we have dual enrollment partnerships with University of Holy Cross, the University of New Orleans, and you're from Louisiana, so these mean something to you, but so we do promote that aspect of dual enrollment as well. I don't really have a great amount of data on college completion rates for the students that come out of my school. But the best I can say to that is I try to promote a multi-tiered approach, not just what we do. College exposure is very important, and we do promote that through dual enrollment partnerships. As a matter of fact, I think one of the initial ways that schools were using CLEP in Louisiana is to do exactly that, to, establish the value of the college courses that they were taking at other universities. So kids would leave the school to a dual enrollment program, they'd go take a college course, and at the end of that college course, the state would allow that student to take a CLEP exam to qualify the rigor of that course, and then they would give them the additional points in that grad index. So I think the original, and I'm not a policymaker in Louisiana, I think the original concept behind putting CLEP in our performance score was to accompany dual enrollment programs. So I think they kind of work hand in hand, and I think that's something you have to kind of strategize at the school level and maybe the district level a little bit.
So I'll just add a bit to that. I think if you look at the college completion problem, there's a growing body of research that too many students are arriving at college unprepared for college, right? So they're basically doomed from the start. And so the key is to find ways to bridge this high school college chasm that too many students fall into. And I think one of the avenues is going to be trying to develop integrated curricula that that basically build a bridge from the college concepts and ideas, and then have students introduced to those ideas in high school and in middle school, so that there's a much more smooth sort of runway basically to college.
All right, thank you so much. So we're about out of time. A couple of quick announcements before we wrap up. And I'll stand so everyone can see me. Beginning at 5:30, we're going to please join our first ever sponsored roundtable discussions in the Marquee Ballroom. The College Board, iTeach, NWEA, Pearson, and Renaissance will all be hosting discussion tables on a variety of issues. The other announcement is please also join us for the National Summit Holiday Reception at 6 o'clock on the foyer on the mezzanine level. Please feel free to wear your best festive attire. I don't know if there's an ugly sweater contest that's going to be taking place. No? Okay. Find more details for both on the IEI 18 app and your program booklet. And speakers, will you be here later this afternoon or this evening or tomorrow? So, please come up after this session, but also, please seek them out this evening or tomorrow. So please join me in thanking. We crammed a lot of information into 1 hour. Thanks so much, and thank you for your kind attention and thank you.